So hello, my name is Adam Tallamy and I am 45 years old. I live in London and I am a life coach. And I'm also the founder and creator of the Hero Process, which I'm going to be talking about a lot in this on this channel. And the Hero Process is basically a way to find happiness, a way to find and live your life purpose, and ultimately it's a way to get what you want. And it's called the Hero Process because really it enables you to take charge of your own life, to put the power back firmly in your hands. And it gives you a set of tools and a methodology, a process, which will allow you to achieve all of those things. And once you have learnt it, you can put your mind to pretty much anything, and it will help you to get there. So I just want to give you a bit of background to myself, just to set the scene, I suppose, tell you how I got to this place and why it's important to me to now share it with you guys. So I grew up in Suffolk on the east coast of England. I went to school in sunny Norwich in Norfolk, and I basically have spent most of my adult life striving for success. I spent a fair chunk of that failing. I've spent virtually all of it working really hard, and that kind of culminated in me setting up a recruitment company in 2001, which I ran for about 14 years. And partway through those 14 years, I actually had a breakdown, or a burnout, if you prefer. Essentially, I couldn't work for 2 years. I couldn't talk about money, couldn't talk about business. I just couldn't handle it at all. And the energy would literally run out of me if you started talking to me about it, or if I mentioned it even. So it was a really long road to recovery. But it was also the best thing that ever happened to me, because my life, although from the outside, from the external, it looked great, internally there were issues. And the story that I always tell is I was running my recruitment company, had about 14 people working for me at the peak, and I was driving a lovely sports car. I had a big house in Greenwich, and externally everything looked great. Inside was a different story, although to be honest I didn't really realise it at the time. So it took me to have the breakdown to really realise what was going on with my life. And that's not to say there hadn't been signs, because there had, but I had ignored them or just not understood them. Certainly not like I would do now. So what were the signs? Well, I had mushrooms growing out of a crack in my shower tray. Now that sounds like some sort of really dodgy metaphor, but it's really not. I literally had mushrooms, multiple mushrooms, growing out of a crack in my shower tray. And what did I do about that? You know, that could happen. You could get a crack in the shower tray and not deal with it for a while, mushrooms grow, okay? Did I do that? No. How long did they stay there for? Probably 6 to 9 months. And I had a cleaner at the time who, even she didn't seem to bother with them, which is weird thinking about it. But every now and again she would cut them back. But did I get the shower tray replaced? No, I didn't. They would then grow back. And I would just have a shower with the mushrooms being there. So why did I do that? I did it for a couple of reasons. Primarily, I think, because I was so focused and so needy and desperate to have success that I couldn't and wouldn't allow myself to be distracted in any way, shape or form. So it was all about striving to get more success. So that's point one. But point two is, and perhaps more importantly, really I was hiding from myself in my business. So I was hiding from myself. What I didn't like to do, and what I've struggled with for many years, is socializing, hanging out with friends, spending too much time with family. And it's not there's anything wrong with any of them. They're lovely people, all of them. But I found it quite intense. It felt a little bit threatening to me. And my preference would be just to stay at home and watch TV or do nothing in my social life. Now, what having the business allowed me to do was to create this busy world which I could kind of get lost in. And what I would do is I'd get myself so knackered, so tired, that by come the weekend I'd be too tired to go out on a Friday night. So that ruled Friday night out. Saturday I would work most Saturdays, so I was a kind of mini workaholic. And then sort of Saturday night might go out, but if I could get out of it, I absolutely would do. So I'd created this kind of world for myself where I kept myself as safe as possible. And I think a lot of people do that in some way, shape or form, right? They either hide in work, or some people hide in and behind their children. You know, they have children, suddenly it's all about the children. So they don't ever have to show themselves who they really are or talk about their stuff. And that was exactly how I was. So yeah, so that went on for many years until I had the breakdown, and there was a second sign, and that was that in my flashy sports car at the time, I'd had a red warning light flashing on and off. Literally, I can't believe this now saying it, but it had literally been going off for a couple of months, and I hadn't done anything about it. And it was late on a Sunday night, and I had a meeting where I was going to have to drive around the main ring road around London, the M25, first thing that morning, on the Monday morning, for a meeting. So I thought I'd better do something about that warning light. So I looked it up, I filled up, I can't remember what it was now, it was water or oil maybe, but I filled it up, and suffice to say, it obviously didn't work, because the next morning the warning light was still on. I drove around the M25, I got about halfway round, it's manically busy, cold, sort of crisp morning, and my engine on my car literally blew up. There was smoke everywhere. I was able to pull over to the other side of the road, and rescue recovery vehicle came out and literally said, the engine has melted. So I at the time I didn't know anything about kind of signs, or I didn't read anything into things. But if you think about it now, those two examples are the perfect metaphor. Really, there was something that needed to be dealt with, that was kind of inside me, that I was avoiding at all costs and just kind of working around. That was the mushrooms, by the way. And then there's the warning light. There's I had been ignoring the warning signs that there was something wrong and needed to be addressed. I hadn't really addressed it, and what happened is eventually I kind of exploded, and lo and behold, I had a breakdown or a burnout. So it's exactly the same sort of same thing when you think about it. So the breakdown was literally the best thing that ever happened to me, and some people find that a little bit strange, but what it allowed me to do was it allowed me to pause. And it allowed me to take time out for myself and stop, because I never did that. I kept myself really busy. And what getting really busy allowed me to do was to not ever have to really look at how I felt, or to ever have to deal with anything. And having had time to pause, it allowed me to think, why am I doing what I'm doing in life? Why am I running this company? I was still quite a young guy, I was sort of early 30s. And why am I doing this? None of my peers are doing, very few are doing anything sort of remotely similar. And frankly, it's taken over completely my whole life. And yeah, I'm doing quite well. I was making good money at the time, just prior to the breakdown, although it was 9 months after the 2007 crash. So it was an interesting time, but nevertheless, things were still pretty good. And the answer that I eventually came to was that I didn't feel loved enough. and that might sound like quite a jump. I didn't get there immediately. It wasn't like a bolt of lightning. But I realized that I wasn't happy with who I was, and I didn't feel loved enough. Now, who by, you might ask? Well, actually, and he's fully aware of this, so I'm very happy to share. It came back to I personally didn't feel loved enough by my dad. And on some level, as a kid, I chose to sort of shut down a little bit towards him. And yet, subconsciously, I spent my whole life trying to get his attention, trying to impress and please him. And his language of love, if you like, was money and success. And we used to sit around the dinner table, and rather than talk about emotions, we'd talk about money and business and success. So only natural that I would take on that same approach and mental. So there I am trying to make more and more money. And there were times when I was making crazy money doing recruitment. At the time, it was a bit like a gold rush. But there were also times when it didn't go so well. And what I did then was I tried to work even harder, or even harder again, put in more hours, hire more people, try to grow the company even more. And the company did grow, it was really successful, but I had no focus on profit. And I remember really clearly there was one night when a friend of mine, an old friend, said to me, "So how's the business going?" I said, "Oh, brilliant, we've just hired another 3 people or 2 people. We're up to 14 now, we've got 2 offices." He was like, "Oh, wow, that's great. But what about profit?" And literally that was like a bolt out of the blue. It was like probably the first time profit ever even registered. And that old saying, profit is sanity and turnover is vanity. It just weighed so true, because it wasn't about them making money. Money was important, but really it was about, hey, look at me, aren't I doing well? Please love me. So what happened then is I'd had the breakdown and I wanted to get better. So I tried everything you can imagine over the next 2 years. Everything from the mainstream, from counseling through to, massage, through to, walking, right the way through to what you might consider, or some might consider, the weird and the wacky. I tried loads of different healing things. I tried crystal healing, shiatsu massage. I tried soul work. I tried Reiki. I tried lots of different things. And life alignment was one that I tried and got really into, which was really great. I also tried family constellations, which was also super powerful. So I tried, you name it, I tried it pretty much. And I found that in most of those healing things, there's some truth, or a lot of truth actually. And I kind of went on this journey inside to find out, having realized that I didn't feel loved enough. It's like, well, why is that the case? And what actually can you do to change that? And what I realized is you can only change it on the inside. And actually it wouldn't have mattered, my dad did love me, and it wouldn't have mattered had he loved me lots more, because deep down I just didn't feel it inside myself, even as a little boy. So that seemed to be one of the challenges that I came in with for whatever reason. And so you can't feel it externally. Even if I had become the next Richard Branson or got really successful, made billions, I still would not have filled that hole. And the only way you can fill it is by going inside and by healing the parts of you that don't feel good enough. So so I worked on it over those 2 years and subsequently to try and develop more of a sense of feeling good. And how do you do that? You focus on the parts of you that don't feel good. You focus on the parts of you that don't feel loved. You look to the inner child. You identify the emotions that feel unloved or unlovable, or sad or depressed or rejected. And there are lots of different healing tools out there you could use. But the one that I use now is called Feel It. and feel it is one of the things that I'll talk about a lot on this channel. And it's what I love about it actually is it's a tool that you can once you've learned it, which you can learn really quickly, you can then go away and apply that to your own life forever forward. So it's not that you need to go and pay to see a coach or a counselor or a healer each time something comes up. This tool puts the power back firmly in your hands, so you can work on it for yourself and deal with emotions sometimes even when they first arise. So it's super powerful. And that, if you like, is the engine room of the hero process. And the hero process is the other thing that I'm going to talk a lot about. And the hero process is a more all-encapsulating sort of methodology, which basically allows you to identify what it is you want and then to move towards it. So it will help you to develop your intuition and how to teach you how to follow your heart. It will teach you how to see what's really beneath the blocks and the issues and the challenges you have. So we might think that it's one reason. So let's say, I don't know, Joe Bloggs says something that upsets me, okay? So we might be angry about that and angry towards Joe Bloggs, but it's never really about Joe Bloggs. That's just the gift, if you like, and you will start to see it as a gift to show you what's really going on inside yourself. What is the part of you that didn't feel good enough, that felt hurt by what Joe Bloggs said? And using Feel It then, you can then change that part of you. You can literally get rid of the button so it's no longer there to be pressed. And ultimately, the hero process will help you to get what you really want in life. It kind of puts the power back in your hands, as I said. It gives you the tools and the methodology to really take back control. Because, you know, ultimately, life is dictated by what's happening within us internally. Everything is a reflection of our inner world. So if you have the tools to change how you feel inside about yourself, change how worthy you feel, change how deserving you feel of good things, if you change your beliefs about the world and, you know, whether the world's good or bad or a dark place, or whether good things come to good people, you know, whatever it is that your beliefs are, you can change actually all of them. And you do that using the Feel It process by just tuning into the emotion that is underlying how you feel about these things. So I've seen people completely change, like beyond unbelievable sometimes. I had one client who came to me who initially was very business focused. She wanted to make £1 million, and we worked with her, but she really wasn't very happy. She was probably a 3 or 4 out of 10 happy. And after about, I think it took her about 7 months of one-to-one coaching, she got to a place where she was 10 out of 10 happy. And that's her default level. Doesn't mean she didn't go up and down a little bit. Sure, you know, stuff comes up, but that's just the measure that we use with this work to know when we're a little bit off, when there's something there that needs to be addressed. So that's a question that with the hero process I ask myself every day. And if it's only a 9, I mean 9 is pretty happy, right? But if it's only a 9, then that means that there's something there that I need to have a little look at and to work on and clear, again using the Feel It process. So so this particular client, where she ended up getting to is she suddenly overnight just came into a coaching session the next day and she said, do you know what, I don't want to make £1 million anymore. She said, I just feel really happy as I am now. And actually what I would really love to do, what would make me feel even more joyful, would be to help 1 million people. And that tends to often be the transition. It's like we go from being all about us and make £1 million to being about, actually, I feel so good, I feel so full, I love myself, I feel worthy, deserving. Now, because I feel that way, I'm not so worried about getting the £1 million anymore. It'd be great if it happened, but actually my focus really is to help other people, because everyone should feel this way. I mean, wow, what a transition. So yeah, so that is the hero process, and what my intention really is to bring more videos, more podcasts about how it works. I'm going to be doing interviews with people who have gone through the process. I'm going to interview some people who had just recently started out in the process, so they can share their, you know, short-term experiences even. And the goal really is to uplift and inspire people. I want to actually, really, if I'm honest, the big goal is I want to inspire 100 million plus people to change, to give them all the tools, all the techniques that they need in order to do that. When that goal first came to me, because it kind of dropped in one day, it was a bit like, well, that's pretty big and pretty daunting and scary. But actually, then my whole journey has been around kind of getting to a place where actually I could potentially do that. So I'm in the process now of finishing the final draft of the Hero Process book. We are also about to launch a 30-day Feel It training program, which will be online. So there's lots of things coming through now which will enable me to kind of reach a wider audience, and I've overcome my fears about being seen, which basically means I can do these videos. Whereas before, absolutely no way could I have done that. It took me a long time to clear that stuff because, you know, using these tools, you can clear anything, but we all have some patterns that, you know, aren't very deep, and we have some that are very deep. And not being seen, fear of being seen was probably my biggest pattern. But I know, having cleared that, that you can go and work on anything and come out the other end successfully. So in a way, that was an amazing part of my journey, and it gave me the inspiration to know that this stuff really, really works. So yeah, so that's me, that's the Hero Process. I hope that gives you a little bit of a flavor as to what to expect. And yeah, we look forward to you joining us on some of the upcoming shows. And please subscribe and like, and you know, if you're getting good value out of it, please do tell your friends. The more every extra person is another step towards the 100 million people. So thank you very much, and happy listening.